Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
What is good, fantasy degenerates? Welcome back. It is episode 2 of the Fantasy Jerks here on Woodward Sports, powered by our friends at fantasypoints.com. My name is Anson Wells, and once again, I am joined by my man, Brandon Kaz. How are you, my friend?
Fantastic, sir. Kids are back in school. Life is good. Glad to be here, sir.
And the wife is letting you play more fantasy football this year, I hear.
Well, barely. I basically had to lie to her and say, we'll talk about that later.
How many leagues are you in, babe? It's too many.
You're not allowed to do any more leagues.
I am very single, and my fantasy teams have been profiting from that singleness, but we want to welcome all of you in. Do want to get right away to the Fantasy Jerks Fantasy League, guys. This is the deal. I had 9 of you guys reply for that first week. I know I was going to open it up, and I know we'd have a lot more this week that would be jumping in. However, we just don't have the time, all right? So what I have right here is I have the 9 names on a wheel. I'm going to spin it, all right? Whoever gets chosen, you're the loser. I apologize. The other 8 of you guys are in. I'll read those names afterwards. Whoever I do call, though, I have an open spot in my 24-year-old retro league, which I will extend an invitation to you specifically if you would like to join. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and spin it, guys, and we'll see what happens here. Daniel Brumar. My apologies, my friend. I have your information. I will email you back, and I will let you know all the information to get into my retro league. We got a spot for you. The other guys, the other 8 that made it, Xavier Dubon, my man Biggins, Dante 151, Jason Big Bush, Ryan Lautner, a.k.a. Ryan's Reaction, Ryan Ramkama, Daniel Brumar. I apologize you did not make it, but I will take care of you. We'll get you into that other league, and maybe I'll send you something nice. Eric Platty, Chris Platty's big brother. I hear you're quite the menace when it comes to fantasy football. Your brother did say not so much with basketball, so we'll have to find out in a few months. And then the last guy in the Fantasy Jerks League, R.J. Graham. All of you guys, I'll be following up with you this week. Probably tomorrow, I'll let you know. Most likely we are going to be doing the draft on Sunday online. We'll figure out a time, but I appreciate everybody getting in there and all of you guys showing up for the first show. So we're rewarding all of you that were here for the first show. We're also rewarding you with the return of one Theo Gremminger, an absolutely amazing fantasy analyst, fantasy champion who joined us last week. He'll be joining us again today at 8 o'clock. I do want to give you the heads up. Next week, we are moving Fantasy Jerks to 8 o'clock. We'll be on from 8 to 9:30. So we will make sure that we have another fantasy expert on for you that time. But let's get nasty, Jerk. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to go into that 3rd and 4th round now. We touched on the first and the second round. My man Ryan's going to bring you up our mock draft that Brandon and I put together over the last week. We showed you last week the first and second round. We had some surprises. Here you can see it now. First pick, 3rd round. My man, you went with Trey McBride.
Yeah, I did. And I'm a little partial because he won me another championship. I started 2 tight ends at him and Kittle, and they carried me again. And McBride, I mean, he's going to get some major touchdown regression. He only had like very low touchdowns. So if he gets that up to like a more standard tight end rate, he's going to smash again.
No doubt. Now, let me ask you, is there a tight end premium in that league?
Yeah, there is.
There is.
So yeah, like both Kittle and McBride were, you get a point per a first down. So Kittle and McBride were both top 25 players last year.
Okay, so interestingly enough, you guys have heard me and Stick talking about the Dynasty League that we're in. In fact, Brandon was part of that in the beginning for close to 10 years. That is also a tight end premium. I have Brock Bowers that I drafted as a rookie. Yeah, before it was cool. I have Brock Bowers. I also have Mandrews, and I shocked everyone last night because I went out and got George Kittle, and I get to start Kittle and Bowers. Honestly, when you're in a tight end premium, and it's very important, guys, you got to know your scoring in your league. You got to know the different nuances in between the different leagues that you're in, and you can capitalize on that. Our buddy Ryan Koenig, the draft heckler, him and I Friday, we have a league where you get 0.25 per carry, which basically jumps running backs, starters 3 to 4 points just on average.
Right.
And so whereas, you're drafting normally, these running backs should be snapped up early, just like in these premium leagues. So for me,
makes guys like Montgomery more valuable.
Absolutely, big time. So for a guy like Trey McBride, I like him at number 25 regardless. But if you have a tight end premium league, guys, it's a no-brainer.
And what you got to remember, too, is this is an edge. Single player positions, especially in a tight end premium, Anson, you going out and having those 2 tight ends, that means that other guys can't have 1.
I got 3, too. I got Mandrews in there. And let's talk about Mandrews. I'm going to cut him off the list that we have a little bit later on. I'm just going to address it right now. Mandrews, as I call him, capital M-A-N, Drews. Mandrews was in a car accident last summer.
Yeah.
Okay? The guy missed OTAs. He missed training camp. He missed preseason.
11 touchdowns still.
Thank you. And Isaiah likely comes out with a good first game. And you know what I heard all year long? He's cooked. Mandrews is cooked.
Yeah, we'll see about that. He's at that crucial point in his career that tight ends have, where you're going to age like a fine wine, or you're going to be done with the league, right? And it's a contract year. It's a funny motivation. I'm all in on Andrews this year.
Yeah, especially where you're getting him in ADP 8, 9, 10th round.
Exactly.
The majority
it's such a low cost.
Yeah, so we'll circle back to him again because there's another tight end that we like late as well. But let's stick to this draft here. Kyren Williams, early 3rd. This is a guy that I don't mind taking late 2nd. There's a grouping between Jonathan Taylor, Kyren Williams, Chase Brown, James Cook. These guys all together. Kyren Williams, there's a lot of haters on him. People were worried about Blake Corum last year. When I look at what he's done analytically, if Matthew Stafford is healthy, I love this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. He's an every down back. Some concerning things, obviously. His breakaway run rate isn't fantastic. He's not a big game breaker, but what he is incredibly reliable. He's shifty, and he's incredible in short yardage situations. I love the pick.
Shout out Stick Radio in the chat. He was there last night. He ended up keeping his Christian McCaffrey, who he's had for some time, and he honestly had a chance to win it these last 2 years. He's going to be a tough one to get out this year, but shout out to Stick in the chat. Guys, listen, if you want to get your super chat in, I forgot to mention, fantasypoints.com, they're giving out a free membership to one of the most premier pay sites in fantasy sports. So whoever puts in the most super chats today, you are getting a free membership. And if you go to fantasypoints.com, you'll see it is not cheap. Get your questions in now. We're going to have a question and answer segment later on. Ask Anson, and we'll get to those. Maybe we'll even get a few for Gremminger. But there you see Fantasy Points right there. The Guru's 2025 draft plan. If you just go to the guys that are writing on this site, I know how big you are on it. Tell us about this site, how good it is.
Yeah, it's spectacular. From the data analytics package to the customizable cheat sheets. But what I really love is just the fantasy headquarters, Draft Central. It's constantly updated. The staff is always working through the pieces with most recent news, relevant, timely, accurate, and proven. So it's the ultimate.
Yeah, you got to check it out. Fantasypoints.com. They are powering our statistics for fantasy this year, and they are absolutely fantastic. I do want to get back to this. Ryan, can
quickly
you bring that
though?
graphic
Shout
up
out to Stick. Love that tight end room, Anson. I think he's coming for you this year.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a. He's got McBride and
Warren and Kelsey.
Yes, Warren, Kelsey, and
Newly
McBride.
engaged.
Yeah, him and I definitely have
My daughter's
a
incredibly
monopoly
excited
on the
about
tight
that.
ends. Yeah, there you go. All right, so heading on to Josh Allen, third round. You guys get it. That's a guy that sometimes doesn't get out of the second. George Kittle doubling down on a guy that I kind of think, with the concerns I have with the new OC in Oakland, changing things up, using Michael Mayer more and having an Ashton Genty there, don't be surprised when George Kittle, not Kerry Kittles, George Kittle is the number one tight end at the end of the season.
Bold call, book it.
Yep, book it. I'm dying on that hill.
I love Kittle. He's one of those aging like fine wine tight ends.
He's just a football player, man.
Just
if
a
you were watching
beast.
receiver, you know that guy's fantastic. JSN, love him right there at 5 in the third round, a target monster last year. Some changes, obviously, in Seattle. Somebody new throwing him the ball, but Sam Darnold got the rock to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Geno and Sam are a wash. Like, they're almost clones of each other statistically
Okay.
and capability-wise. So, I mean, just from a pure career progression, I could definitely see JSN increasing his numbers. But, yeah,
I think the biggest change here is Clint Kubiak.
Okay.
That is the biggest change here. Ryan Grubb obviously did not work out for this offense. Even with that, Jackson Smith and Jigba towards the end of the year took that second-year leap that you'd like to see in these young receivers. I have high hopes for him to just be a breakout year, expecting him to be in the first round next year.
And, you know, so many people were down on him last year and thinking into it. But I think the key takeaway here is that, like, year 2 receivers are a value at ADP. Period.
Yep. Shout out the bomber, Brendan, in the sound
Yo,
booth.
yo, yo.
Making us sound good, and shout out my man Ryan making us look good, our TD in the production booth there. Let's get back to that graphic real quick and continue to talk through these guys. After JSN, James Cook, I think he's a steal in the third round if he's still there for you.
He's got
Smash
a lot
it.
more ceiling.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really, what, 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 30 catches.
The
around there,
receptions,
something
man.
like-
I love the
Yeah,
receptions.
he can really get those up. And, you know, I know they're trying to save him for a run, but they paid him now. So, I mean, let's see what he's got, right? Let's get him more carries.
I know Stick's watching right now, but what about Ray Davis? Ray Davis is a great second-year player, showed a real ability to get into the end zone, so that is a risk that you do have there. But I think that last year, James Cook, they were just starting to get a feel for what they could do with him. I think that they really plug into his ability this year and use him even more in the offense. Next guy up, we're going to talk about later on again, so I don't want to spend too much time, and that is Maserati Marvin Harrison. So put a pin in him. We will return to him. A guy I selected in our Woodward staff draft, Joe Burrow. This is a guy that's pissed off after last year, should have made the playoffs, put together basically near record numbers with his buddy Jamar Chase from LSU. How are you feeling about Joe Burrow? Is that a guy you think can be QB1 at the end of the year?
I mean, not QB1 because he doesn't have the Konami code. He doesn't move too much with his legs. But I think he can outperform his draft position and, you know, potentially be a top 30 guy.
Okay. I love Joe Burrow this year, and I think that when you're looking at Lamar and Jaden and Josh coming off in the second and in the third, I think if Joe is still there for you in the fourth, it's really hard to pass on
Let's
him.
bring some perspective to the Joe Burrow, like, number one talk. So Matt Stafford, third year, whatever year it was, long time ago, he threw for 5,000 yards. Remember that? Okay. And that year, I believe, had somewhere around 37 touchdowns, something like that. Not much on the ground, like Joe. Quarterback 6. 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
like that's what you have to do to get there.
Yeah.
Now, you just mentioned nothing on the ground. Does almost zero rushing upside have any effect with you on that Joe Burrow pick over people like Jalen Hurts, who's going to get tush pushes maybe too?
I mean, you need that 400 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground to even be considered a top 3 candidate.
Yeah, and you know, Hurts may not get you the 400 on the ground, but he might get you 10 in the end zone on his feet through the push of the tush.
Jalen's going to get you 700 on the ground.
Yeah, for sure. So let's keep moving. Lad McConkey here at 33. I'm really worried about McConkey. I'm not touching him anywhere. Keenan Allen.
What are your concerns?
Keenan Allen. And I know that everybody's going to tell me he's old. He's old. That was Justin Herbert's number one wide receiver for
Well,
years.
You're not concerned that you're probably bigger than him,
Then McConkey?
and he's a football player?
Yeah, I mean, I have concerns along those lines. I loved him coming out. He's a technician. He knows how to get open.
Okay.
I just don't think that the large volume will be here this year
Hunter
for him.
Renfrow
They have
2.0?
better. They have a great running game now. They had 4 guys led by Kamani Vidal last year, and now you've got some legitimate,
Dobbins.
Dobbins, who was there for just a few weeks. You've got Najee coming back from a fireworks incident. What a jerk. And then you have Omarion Hampton, we're going to be talking about here shortly. So McConkey, I would temper your expectations. If you're looking at him in the second, I don't like that. T. Higgins in the third, probably a steal. One of those boring guys that's sitting right there, probably still on the board, about 5-6 picks past what he should be. Smash.
Look, can't get through the season. However, points per game, is he worth it there? I don't know. I won't be taking a lot of them. Love him as a player.
Yeah, I don't mind Higgins there. I think it's a little bit of a value.
I hope he puts it together. I mean, because if he does, I'm a Bengals fan, and shout out to my neighbors from Cincinnati.
There you go.
It's just, it would be nice to see the Bengals,
All right, Terry McLaurin finishes our third round draft there.
value.
Yeah, absolutely. And with him signing now, he's coming in somewhat happy. We know that the connection is already strong between him and Jaden. I want to go into the next round here. Garrett Wilson, a guy that I just couldn't take in the second or third round. Be very careful of him. Justin Fields is throwing them the ball. Omarion Hampton, a guy that Fantasy Points Expert draft, he went 15 overall. I think in the 4th round, you can't let him get by you. He, to me, almost just as good as Ashton Genty. Little different style of running, of course, but I love Omarion Hampton there. And then Breece Hall, a guy that you're kind of high on. A guy that's slipping in the 4th round that was a first-round pick just a year or two ago. Is that a steal in the 4th?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we talked about with Theo last week, I think a trade is a great possibility here. It's a contract year. Justin tends to take away some of those carries. So I think he's still more likely a 3rd round, 2nd round back with incredible upside.
Yeah, massive ceiling on Breece Hall. We'll come back to the New York Jets backfield later on in the show because there is a lot to talk about. There's 3 very viable guys, including one that I absolutely love. But Tyreek Hill, another guy who seems like an absolute crazy steal in the 4th round. You take away some concussions from Tua, and he might be a back of the 1st round player this year.
So Tyreek played with a broken wrist last year. And
Didn't know that. I didn't know that.
For a guy that apparently bench presses like 400 pounds or something like that, for him not be able to jam off those corners it is huge. Is part of his game and getting open. And Miami knows how ineffective they were throwing to the middle of the field last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys, both Waddle and we'll talk about later, Tyreek, bounce back big time this year.
Yeah, I think Tyreek in the 3rd is probably a steal, but if he's slipping into your 4th round, smash that draft button, guys. After him, a guy near and dear to all the Spartans in this room, we got 3 of them, K9, Kenneth Walker. I got to be honest with you, Brandon. This is a guy that if he's there in the 5th round for me, I'm going to take him. In the 4th round, it's solid, but his injury passed, and a guy named Zach Cabernet Charbonnet. Zach is a guy that I have great value in. I see him as a very good running back. When Kenneth goes down and he gets the majority of the carries, he's a RB2 at worst, a very good RB2. So not only am I worried about him creeping up and possibly, stealing carries, but just the injury possibilities of Kenneth Walker. If you get Kenneth Walker, do you have to get Zach later on?
Isn't Kenneth in a contract year again this year? I mean, at that cost, you get Zach in the 8th, right? And like you and I compared a draft that we did together. We both targeted Sharps in the 8th.
Yes, sir.
Huge reward, right? And I think it's a little early for a handcuff, but if you believe in the Seahawks backfield and their commitment to the run, maybe it's something to do. But I think you just pick one and roll with it and take the upside on either.
It's kind of similar to the Tank Bigsby ETN backfield, where I think that Bigsby and Zach Charbonnet, if they got the ball to themselves, they'd be just fine as an RB2 in your starting lineup.
We don't have to agree on everything.
Tell me more.
No, I think that Bigsby is a replacement level back. Not a lot of explosive passes. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they come in there and completely redo the rushing attack, and they're a lot more efficient.
I'm curious what happens in Jacksonville this year.
We're forgetting about Bayshell Tootin.
Bayshell Tootin,
You
absolutely.
mean the NCAA fumbles leader, Bayshell Tootin?
Yeah, I'm not a big Bayshell Tootin guy myself. He just seems like a pure speed guy. So let's move on. After him, DK Metcalf, no longer in Seattle. I think that helps JSN. There's no George Pickens anymore in a place called Pittsburgh, which is where DK Metcalf will be catching passes from one Aaron Rodgers. Is this a disaster or some treasure that you can find in the fourth round in DK?
If you look at this list of players that we've got in this round right here, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys ended up as first-round picks next year. And, I mean, maybe not Mike Evans, which we'll get to later.
I think O'Marion Hampton maybe.
Right. And there is a lot of upside and room and ceiling in all of these picks. I love this part of the draft.
Yeah, this is where you eat.
It's where you eat.
All right. DK Metcalf, I think, will eat this year in Pittsburgh. I love that pick. If he's in the fourth round for you, again, smash the shit out of that draft button. Mike Evans, another guy, slept on. I know he's old, guys, but Chris Godwin, I think he's going to get activated from the pup, but he's certainly not that healthy. McMillan, this guy had a great rookie year, and now he might not even play. You do have Emeka Egbuka, who is the wild card there, but with Baker Mayfield slinging the rock back there, I will take Mike Evans. Even if I were to go two running back, quarterback, and Mike Evans is my wide receiver one, I don't hate that.
I love Mike Evans.
Tell me more.
We're going to tell you a little bit more later on Mike Evans.
Okay, all right, we'll hold on to Mike Evans. J-Mo, coming in at number 44, my number 44. I got to make that pick. I threw it in there. I know Stick's happy to see that. He's a big J-Mo guy. I know all of our Detroit listeners and viewers right now are J-Mo guys. You heard Theo last week. He called for the ascension of J-Mo this year. In fact, he's fading Amon-Ra just a touch. We all here in Detroit are on the same page. We all agree that this is the J-Mo year. No issues off season. Graduated from Wayne State. Healthy. You know, there's a Tartar right there. I call him the Tartar still. But no, J-Mo is another guy that we're going to talk more to when we get Theo back, because I need to hear more. So we're not going to go too deep into that. But we got a lot of Lions talk when Theo gets with us. Xavier Worthy, hate this pick. Scares the hell out of me. Xavier Worthy, you get possibly a Hollywood Brown back. You get Rashee Rice back.
When?
I think that
When do you get Rashee?
after week 6. So week 7, Rashee will come back.
Cool.
Something else we're talking about. Got the information on Rashee today that he has the 6-game suspension. So I do like Xavier Worthy. But my thing is I draft for week 11 and later.
Mm-hmm.
Those first 5-6 weeks, I'll take some losses because I know I'm going to be in the playoffs, Brandon.
Second most receiving yards in the playoffs last year. Ended the year hot. I love that.
Yeah.
Ending the year hot in the playoffs. Always a great
But
indicator
it
for
felt like it was
success.
because he was all they had. And I think that now with Hollywood Brown and you got a couple other guys that they've signed, as well as obviously Rashee Rice coming back. Is this guy going to have the same type of production in the fantasy playoffs as he did last year? Is my question.
No. Not with Rashee Rice in the building. Rashee Rice is too good of a prospect. I think the reason we saw Xavier Worthy excel as much as he did is because he was getting the first 3 targets in that offense. Those slants, that's what Rashee Rice specializes in.
I forget the
scares me.
quote, but it was something like, you can't cover him. And it was very recent. And that's been evident.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I would have personally taken Rashee in the 4th. I did take Rashee Rice in our Woodward staff league. We'll see. That was prior to the news. I knew it was going to come. I'd rather it be in the first 6 weeks than in the middle of the season, though, to be quite honest with you.
I mean, look at the fantasy points per game. So, I mean, you're not going to get a huge argument out of me. It's just like a guy going down with an ankle. And it happens.
And if you extrapolate fantasy points numbers, projections for him on 9 games over a 16-game season, they have him as a top 20 player. So I took the risk. I want him for my playoff run. Ted McMillan, 46, a guy that I am starting to really come around on. You see Adam Thielen get moved. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But Ted McMillan, I think you and I were a little iffy on. Did Theo last week change your opinion at all? Because he seems very high.
He did. I mean, obviously, had some red flags coming in, which is player comps. That being said, what I think Canales is the real deal.
Okay.
And so I could see Carolina fighting for the playoffs or nipping on the end in that weak division by the end.
Yeah, it is a weak division, certainly there. Ted McMillan, I don't know, man. I'm not sure where. I think 4 might be a little bit early, but you might have to take him there in order to not wait till 6 to get him.
I've been personally smashing this guy in drafts. He is not going 4 in a couple drafts I had. I got him in the 6th round in a 10-man and a 5th round in a 12-man. Took him in both teams that I have. I just think that he has the best chance out of any one of these guys to be that Brian Thomas Jr., to be drafted around that first, second round turn next year.
Yeah, I like him, and I like Matthew Golden, a guy that you can get at a much bigger discount, but I like both of them to be the best wide receivers in this year's class.
Historically, top 10 wide receivers at ADP are smashes. So I agree with you, Brendan, at that point.
I agree with you as well, Anson. The 4th round might be a little bit of a reach, but if you really believe in this guy's talent, and like me, you believe that the Panthers could be somewhat of a bounce-back team, not talking 11-6, but the Panthers could win some games and have a productive fantasy offense this year, I'm all in on Tet.
No doubt about it. DJ Moore, Chicago Bear, getting the ball thrown to him from Catfish Caleb. And I heard that I'm a little too biased when it comes to Chicago, so I'll be fair. Their offense should be better. They've got Benedict Johnson, Osama Ben Johnson, whatever you want to call the man whose name we will not speak here. But the problem for me is the same problem last year. A, I don't believe in the quarterback. B, you got 3 wide receivers. You let go of Keenan Allen, now you got Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore. Who the hell do you play each week? Now you got 2 tight ends on top of that. Where is the ball going to go? I can't get on board with DJ Moore. I did pick him because I wanted to talk about him here. 4th round for DJ Moore, no thank you. I'm not taking him in the 5th, Brandon.
I'm a DJ Moore stan, even though he's a Bear. I've got him in Dynasty. I've smashed him.
Why?
In drafts.
What do you like about him? Do you like how he ran off the field in the 4th down last play of a game where they had a chance to win it, and he left the field of play before the play was even done? He hates his own quarterback, Brandon.
I mean, I just love him as a player.
But even in that situation.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is that if DJ Moore can approach get back to that target rate where and Caleb can get rid of the ball. He is just so dangerous when he gets the ball. He is a 4.39 40 guy, 210 pounds, absolutely explosive, incredible route runner. Ben Johnson knows what's up. He's going to force feed him the ball.
So is that the Amon-Ra of this team? Or
yes.
is Rome Odunze the Amon-Ra of this team?
Well, DJ Moore is a faster, a little bit bigger Amon-Ra. Rome Odunze is not a similar player comp to him. If anything, Luther Burden is close.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
If you're
physically.
actually taking physicality and talent and putting it there, but I'm just talking about the number 1. And for me, if they're going to try and develop this new Chicago Bear team, you don't want to invest into DJ Moore because he's not going to be there after this year.
Well, he just got paid last year like a number 1, and Ryan Poles is still the GM of that team.
Okay, well, we'll see. I differ on that one. I'm staying away from all Bears. I actually kind of like DeAndre Swift where he's going, but that's about it. Finally, we're finishing off with Travis Hunter, a complete anomaly, a complete unknown. As a wide receiver, I'm not taking him in the 4th round, but if your league rewards defensive statistics and you get both, like some of ours do, There is no defensive special teams. There's IDP, but an offensive player, if he gets a tackle or a kickoff return, you get all those points combined. For that type of league, this might be low at 48.
Perhaps. I have a hard time drafting players that don't have a specialization.
I feel you. All right. Well, we are at 8 o'clock, and as promised, we have one Theo Gremminger, the lead analyst over at our partner fantasypoints.com. He absolutely slayed it last week with us. I've been hearing about it from my friends and from the viewers, how great Theo was, and everybody was excited and hoping we'd have him back this week. Well, we do. Theo, how are you, my friend? Welcome in.
I'm happy to chop it up with you guys again. That was a lot of fun last week, and you sent over a couple of subjects, and really, really good sheet tonight.
Well, great, man. We got plenty to talk about. We got you for a half hour here, so let's get right into what we've got. I got to say, we had our Woodward Fantasy League, our staff league, and I decided my first 10 picks, half would be mine and half would be fantasy points. I'm selfish, so I went Justin Jefferson, Chase, Burrow, 1, 2, 3. Chase Brown was a little bit too early in the second from what you guys had him ranked at, but you guys know I love Chase Brown. We talked about him. But then I went Rashee Rice based on your guys' 9-day numbers, or 9-game numbers. And if you extrapolate those over a full season, and again, I'm only interested in the second half of the season in the playoffs because I know I'm going to be there. You guys basically have Rashee Rice as a top 20, 25 guy overall on a full season. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think Rashee Rice is a really strong pick, and the fact that we now know that it's going to be the first 6 games of the year is such a benefit versus the sort of unknown where you get him for like the first 4, and then it's like, does he get 8 games? Does he get 10 games? Does this ruin my season? It allowed you to actually structure your team, and now you have a plan where you know you need to get through this many games, and then you get him for the stretch run. I am high on Rashee Rice. There's a few people at Fantasy Points maybe a little bit higher on him than I am. But just if we look at the sample size last year of what they were able to do with Rice over the first 3 weeks of the season, they basically treated him. I mean, you were talking in the pre-show, who is Ben Johnson's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like Rashee Rice had that Amon-Ra St. Brown type usage, and I think you could get that. I also think there's a chance that Kansas City is going to be way more aggressive as a team. Absolutely demolished in the Super Bowl. Xavier Worthy, I think, is going to have a strong start to the year. He's another player that I sort of bump heads with some of the Fantasy Points guys. I'm a little bit higher on Xavier Worthy than some. I'm sort of a Xavier Worthy guy. But I think what this does is it allows Xavier Worthy to get off to a red-hot start, and it allows him to sort of solidify his role and absorb when Rashee Rice comes back in. So you might have a supercharged Kansas City offense that I don't think that the public is necessarily think is coming. Like Patrick Mahomes is the cheapest he's been since his year 2 breakout. It's like Mahomes is basically being treated like a 2 tiers behind a Joe Burrow type guy. And then the other thing we get from this Rashee Rice news is the Travis Kelce drafter gets a chance to get off to like a quick start where Kelsey's a little bit cheaper. So it's sort of a perfect storm for Kansas City. But yeah, absolutely. When Rashee Rice comes back, I think it could be 17, 18 points per game. A lot of those first read looks, a lot of slot usage. That's probably the biggest question mark is which player fills in the slot in Kansas City right now. Jalen Royals dealing with an injury. There's some people saying that it could maybe be Brashard Smith getting some slot snaps early on.
I like him.
Yeah, so there's that's the one thing they'll have to work out. But I do think they're going to be more aggressive as a team. A lot of those 3-point, 2-point wins, the Chiefs were not very fantasy friendly at times last year. No. I think that they have a lot of self-scouting in the building, and a big part of that is going to be Rashee Rice in the second half of the year.
I love that. I actually have the Chiefs meeting up with our Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl because I believe that everyone forgot how good this offense is when they're healthy. Some Hollywood Brown, I don't know exactly what his status is, but the offense we thought we were going to see last year, we're going to see this year. I think it actually helps Travis Kelce. We're going to come back to those guys. So I wanted to ask you two guys that I don't normally draft, but I'm in the 5th round, and Chuba Hubbard is sitting there, and based on the Fantasy Points ranking, I had to take him. Give me something on Chuba. Did I make the wrong move?
There's nothing exciting about Chuba. I heard you guys in the pre-show saying how you sort of believe in Dave Canales. The Dave Canales RB1 has been one of the best bets to make for consecutive seasons. You had Rashad White 2 seasons ago in Tampa, finishing like top 5 in running back touches, gave you a strong top 6 season at the running back position. Chuba Hubbard last year on what was a really pretty bad offense overall still gave you low-end RB1 numbers, and they paid him. So what like the Carolina basically told you that they like Chuba Hubbard. He's going to be a big part of their offense. It doesn't feel like a great pick, but I think Chuba's not going to burn you, and I think he's a very good bet to get considerable amount of volume this season. Not every pick needs to be, hey, this guy's going to beat ADP by like 4 rounds, but in terms of getting predictable running back touches week in, week out, I think Chuba's there. And you also have, I heard you guys talking about Teteroa McMillan. I know we talked about him last week. There's a chance that Carolina just becomes a big breakout offense this year.
Wow.
Dave Canales, year 2. We always get so like caught up this time of year. Let's talk about these first-year coordinators. Certainly there's so much talk right now about Ben Johnson, about Liam Cohen. You go down the list of all these first-year guys, but a lot of times the big leap forward that we see is from these second-year guys. It's the comfort level. It's you now have your guys in the building. Carolina made all those investments on the offensive line last year, all those interior offensive linemen, which really help a shorter quarterback. And Bryce Young looked good in the second half of the year. So a lot to like there. Factor in McMillan. Factor in now with Thielen gone, you've got guys like Jatavian Sanders, Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette that are going to get opportunities. They're going to be younger. It's Canales' guys in there. And I think Chuba Hubbard, if Carolina takes a big step forward, then I think his numbers will be right in line with what he was last year, with a chance for him to fall in the end zone a couple more times.
I'd love to digress into Jatavian Sanders because
me
he's
too.
one of my favorite young guys, but that's a guy that's probably not getting drafted in many drafts. He's a dynasty guy that you should have. But before I move on, Chuba to me seems like the least understood player in the first 6 rounds of fantasy drafts. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of sort of analytical people that have been somewhat Chuba haters this year because analytically there's a couple of things he didn't do that well. Certainly he caught some passes last year, but he wasn't that like fluid of a pass catcher. He's been more of an opportunistic pass catcher. So sort of the counter argument to all the nice things I said about Chuba is Rico Dowdle and Trevor Etienne are going to cut into his role as a pass catcher. One of those two guys could potentially take away the pass catching role. I don't necessarily buy into that. Dave Canales, we now have 2 years in a row of him using a running back like a bell cow. That seems to be his MO. That seems to be what he's comfortable with. But again, it sort of limits Chuba's ceiling if one of those other guys ends up being the pass catching back. They seem to really like Trevor Etienne in that building. I know that most fantasy managers are just clicking the button on Rico Dowdle. He's been a very popular like RB2 to add on like Underdog and some of these 20 roster spot leagues. But I don't know. Etienne seems interesting. Pass catching profile, younger back. Obviously, he's Travis Etienne's little brother, played at Georgia, was a Senior Bowl standout. And I think they have plans for him on special teams as well. But for me, I think where you drafted Chuba, if this was fantasy football 8 years ago, Chuba Hubbard would be a second-round pick based on the contract that he has, based on the volume. Like, people are not paying up for what running backs did last year. And I think that Chuba Hubbard, it's boring, but it's not going to burn you in the 5th round. He's the kind of guy that if he was like a dead zone back that you had to take in like round 3, round 2, there'd be a lot more pitfalls to have. And really, to be honest with you, your 5th round pick is not going to sink you. That, like, if you've drafted the rest of the team well, a 5th round pick that doesn't hit is not going to completely sink you. But if he does hit like he did last year, you're getting like 3rd round return on your 5th round pick. So I think it's a fine structural pick for you.
Yeah, he's my RB2, so I'm a little worried. I don't want to stay too long on this. I did get Waddle in the 6th, Addison in the 8th, or the 9th, and Godwin in the 10th, based on fantasy points. They shouldn't have been on the board still, so I'm happy I had you guys in my back pocket. But we will review this as the season goes on, and I might hold you guys accountable. But go ahead.
Yeah, I can't take full credit with that one. And my rankings are up there. I love your Jordan Addison pick. The Jordan Addison pick, I think, like getting him in the 8th round, I'm seeing him go off the board a lot in the 7th round.
9th round.
Oh, 9th, excuse me. That's fantastic
Jefferson,
value.
So I had to back up Jefferson. But you know what I do have a real problem with? And I'm going to tell you, some of our listeners aren't going to be happy, Theo. You got Jared Goff ranked number 20. What the hell is going on with that, my friend? I need some information on how you could have Jared Goff ranked number 20 overall. Please explain.
So I think it's a very, like, the projections are, we have Chris Weck doing projections, who's very, very good at doing these projections. A lot of times it's sort of it's a very safe sort of projection. With Goff, we don't get the rushing upside, so he gets a little bit punished with all these projections. I think for me, I'm taking upside stances on all these Lions, though. I sort of had like a mental exercise today where I don't even know if we're allowed to say it, where it's sort of like people are just going to bury you. But the Lions are this team where everybody says this is a team that's going to regress this year because they averaged 33 points a game last year. Ben Johnson was this guy who was just looked at as like the smartest guy in the NFL for consecutive seasons. Basically, they just printed fantasy points like an ATM machine. But why can't they be better this year? I think Isaac Tesla, it adds another dimension to this team.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a little bit, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
keep going. Keep telling us more.
Yeah,
man.
no, so for me, it's just a John Morton using Jahmyr Gibbs more than David Montgomery, where like Montgomery's been really, really good for the Lions the last 2 years. Like his touchdown rate, outstanding. Everybody loves David Montgomery. But at the end of the day, Jahmyr Gibbs might be the most talented running back in the NFL. Gibbs is getting increases in touches. We had a staff. We basically, as a staff, we pick a bunch of things internally where we have to pick like who wins each and every division, who goes to the Super Bowl, who leads the league in rushing yards, receiving yards, etc. Offensive Rookie of the Year, like picking every single award. I picked Jahmyr Gibbs to lead the NFL in rushing this year. I just think we're going to get an 1,800 rushing yards season out of Jahmyr Gibbs. Wow. He's going to get the opportunities. It all comes down to it. It's the explosiveness. It's year 3. He's 23 years old. And it's not a massive leap. We already saw him go north of 1,400 last year. So he's already sort of there. But I think when you look at the Lions, it's the Gibbs factor. It's the willingness to use Gibbs more often, makes the offense a little more explosive. Jameson Williams, everybody seems to think, every single beat reporter, all of the coaching staff basically tells us there's another level for Jameson Williams to reach this year as a player. 24 years old, 14 points per game last year, over 1,000 receiving yards last year. If he takes his game to another level, Amon-Ra St. Brown is what he is. David Montgomery sort of is what he is. And then you have this added dimension of Isaac Tesla, who might just be an absolute steal. And people don't want to believe it because of the preconceived notion of what he was viewed as a prospect. Goes from a small school to the SEC to Arkansas. The production at Arkansas was not over the top at all. There was a number of other sort of players getting production there. But Tesla had an outstanding combine, a next level type athlete. And then when Detroit traded, essentially, it was basically like trading 3 third-round picks, basically what they did. Brett Whitefield at Fantasy Points sort of broke it down with like the NFL calculator. Basically, the Lions gave up like 3 third-round picks to get Isaac Tesla. Brad Holmes doesn't miss on skill position talent.
That's right.
So you bring up Jared Goff. Jared Goff hit. Absolute big hit for you guys off the Stafford trade. Jameson Williams would be the only one you'd maybe call an incomplete because of his first 2 years. But talent-wise, he's another win. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they absolutely stole. Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta in the same draft class. Isaac Tesla, people don't want to believe that it could be a really, really big hit, but you cannot ignore just how dominant he's looked in the preseason. The fact that they go and trade Tim Patrick this close to the season, a veteran that everybody sort of likes Tim Patrick. There's not a negative person out there for Tim Patrick as sort of a role player to give Tesla this massive role. So for me, the threat of Tesla downfield is something that defenses are going to have to really, really account for. It's going to open things up for Jameson Williams. It's going to open things up potentially for Amon-Ra, for Sam Laporta. I just think that the whole narrative that this offense regresses is at this point a little bit lazy. I understand you lose Ragnow at center, but I think that there's a chance that the offense just stays north of 30 points per game. I'm really bullish on it. So back to your Goff question. Goff is just that structural pick. I mean, you probably would have been okay with him being ranked as like the quarterback 13. It's just such a tight tier when you get into those.
We would have been hurt.
Where do you want him ranked?
So
where do you
top
want him
10
ranked?
for sure. Give us
Top
some.
10, okay.
Yeah. So Jared Goff, Theo. First of all, welcome back. Really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Here. Jared Goff, last year quarterback 7, year before quarterback 11, the year before that quarterback 14. His first year, how many games did the Lions win? He was quarterback 22. So he's been 14 or less in the last 3 years, or 14 or better in the last 3 years. So, I mean, I'm not going to have a lot of them because he doesn't have that Konami code. But for your second quarterback, and if you're waiting for somebody to develop, as a potential streamer, Jared's going to bring it home. And this whole thing sounded like a Jared Goff argument for Theo. So.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is sort of all of the projections for Jared Goff this year take into account Detroit regressing, take into account the fact that his touchdown passes are going to go down. That's basically, I think, what it is.
Because he had 7% touchdown rate last year, or higher. That's hard. It's hard to repeat that.
And they should, but it doesn't like. And I know that the touchdown rate, Rich Rebar has talked about this. It's one of the things that we can kind of count on is when a touchdown rate reaches a certain level, it's going to regress. But it doesn't always happen. I just think it's the X factor of this offense taking another gear, just getting a little bit better. Guys in Detroit are also very young. You've got Laporta going into year 3, Jahmyr Gibbs going into year 3, Jameson Williams essentially going into, what is it? We call it year 2.5 based on all the time he missed. Now you got Tesla as a rookie. So it's just all of this youth taking a step forward. I don't know. For me, I get it. And Goff is one of my most rostered quarterbacks on Underdog. I draft a lot there. And like you said, he was sort of always there where you can have him as your QB2 and you're able to correlate him really easily with guys like Jameson Williams. I was drafting some Tesla in like round 18 for a while. Now now Isaac Tesla's going to be like round 14, round 15. Tesla's shooting up. So I'm with you. I think Goff is interesting. I think he's sort of being left for dead as a fantasy asset. And he could end up making a lot of people doing projections, including ourselves, look way too low on him 6 weeks into the season.
Isaac Tesla has many paths to success. First of all, like you hit on, Theo, absolute stud athlete, like top tier, incredibly. Yeah. He's large, incredible speed score, great vert. Anything happens to, God forbid, to any of our other targets, it's kind of wheels up for Tesla, right?
Yeah, and I think you could throw Sam Laporta into that argument. If Sam Laporta misses time, I think that the natural move would be to try to use the physicality, some of the routes that Laporta runs. I don't know if it would necessarily be a like for like, but I do think some of those targets could go to Tesla. Jameson Williams goes down. Tesla, Amon-Ra St. Brown misses time. Obviously, I think Tesla would take a step up. So, Tesla's just the kind of guy you really want to bet on in Dynasty. There's still going to be people sort of not wanting to believe it in Dynasty, but this is football. The way he looks against other NFL players in the preseason. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves because he's still cheap. It's not a reason for us to go and reach 10 rounds or something to get the guy. But he is the kind of player that let's see where this story goes. And Tesla might make a really big name for himself this year. It's not like a non-zero chance that this guy doesn't hit big. And like you said, the contingent upside for him. But I think really it's stylistically what he can do for the entire offense that makes me most excited about him.
Well, we call him Vanillatron here in Detroit. And I got to say, everything you're saying right now is music to everyone's ears. If you're just catching up, Tim Patrick was traded by the Detroit Lions today for a 6th-round pick to Jacksonville. So the debate over who is going to be the number 3 here in Detroit is over.
Settled.
It is Isaac Tesla. Now, you guided us through that segment perfectly. I got just a couple. I got to double down on it. I'm fascinated by the Laporta thing. That's something that we haven't put together yet. Laporta as a move tight end, there's a lot of the routes that he's running that Tesla as a physical downfield blocker could fill if something were to happen to Laporta for a few games. So that was fascinating to me. But
Imagine those two beasts crossing the field.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But in terms of Amon and Jamo, does Isaac being the number 3, Tesla being the number 3 now in Detroit, does that alter where you're drafting, or are you fading either one of those guys? Does it alter either Jamo or Amon-Ra's draft stock at all?
So for me, Amon-Ra, that's the one where, like, he's not going to be a bad pick. But does he have the wide receiver 1 overall upside that he would have had in a Ben Johnson offense? I'm not so sure. Because the slot receiver role was so important in the Ben Johnson offense. Do we necessarily see that with John Morton? And do we see Jameson Williams? Jameson said that he's going to get an opportunity to run different routes. Jameson said he's going to get an opportunity to sort of be moved around the field. He said that to the media. Do we see Jameson in the slot a little bit more? Amon-Ra, for me, it's just, you talked about all those guys in like the second round. The early second round has some receivers that I actually think have higher upside than Amon-Ra this year. I think if you're drafting Amon-Ra and you're happy to get like the wide receiver 7, the wide receiver 6, the wide receiver 5, that's fine. But I think when you look at Amon-Ra versus a guy like a Nico Collins, versus a guy like a Brian Thomas Jr. who's going in the similar range, I think that the upside argument would lean me towards Nico, lean me towards BTJ because of the target competition in Detroit and because we don't know if the slot position is going to be as dominant. So it's not a knock on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have so many bags packed of Amon-Ra in Dynasty. He's going to be a great player for many years to come. It's just where he's going versus some of the guys around him. I have been leaning towards a few others. I think Amon-Ra is fine. And I split some high-stakes teams with some really smart people, and he's looked at as more of a safety guy in that range right now, and that's in a positive way. So not to throw anything at Amon-Ra, but I think for me, I've been way more interested in drafting Jameson Williams, especially early in the summer. Early in the summer, I was drafting the hell out of Jameson Williams. Now he's come up a lot. I'll still draft him sometimes, but not like every single draft. But early in the summer, every single draft, I was trying to pack my bags with Jameson Williams. I think there's a chance he takes a big, big step forward. And I think that would have to hurt Amon-Ra slightly. So I would just, do I need to take Amon-Ra at like pick 13 overall or pick Jameson Williams at like the end of the 5th round? I think I'm leaning towards Jameson Williams if it's an either or argument. Laporta's an interesting one when you're looking at the Lions this year. For me, Laporta is just going to always remain a bet on talent. I've already seen it with my own eyes. I know he's good at football. He ended the year very well last year, had a bunch of spike weeks to end the season. I think that there's a lot of fear in the marketplace when it comes to Laporta. We've seen his ADP drop. But again, it's a bet on talent type play where we know this is a guy who can catch a bunch of touchdowns and have a big effect. So for me, I'm not shying away from any like Lions right now. But I will say that probably I'm more interested in taking Jahmyr Gibbs, like number 3 overall, Jameson Williams, end of the 5th, Laporta whenever I sort of need him structurally, and I haven't been taking Amon-Ra as much, for better or for worse, because of the presence of guys like BTJ, presence of guys like Nico, and I'll even throw Puka Nacua in there. I think Puka Nacua, when he falls, is sort of right there with Amon-Ra, maybe a slightly higher upside case because of the target competition.
Amazing.
Number 2 on your
there.
website. So yeah.
Amazing information. Honestly, Amon-Ra's not going past number 8 in Detroit here. But some of those guys you talked about, BTJ especially, love him at that range. But I do want to talk about a couple of the other last-minute changes that have happened this last week. We'll jump through them real quick. We talked about Rashee Rice's suspension. Mentioned that Godwin's been activated. What do you think that does to an Emeka Egbuka at this point? Are you fading him?
No, I'm still very much betting on Egbuka. The Godwin thing for me, like, it passes the physical. But what week do we see him back full scale? The fact that Egbuka's had this like room to run and just been so dominant when on the field, like, I think if anything, if Egbuka falls a little bit based on this Godwin news, I would try to draft him a little more. The problem with Egbuka is, like we talked about with Jameson, the market has been just pushing him up and up and up and up.
It has.
I saw him go in the early 4th round
Wow.
in an FFPC main event the other day, where he went ahead of Devontae Adams, went ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., ahead of Xavier Worthy.
Wild.
So, like, I need to get Egbuka drafters out there. But at the end of the day, I said in my bold predictions article that I think Emeka Egbuka leads Tampa Bay in receptions this year, and I'm sort of going to stick to that one. I think that the train has left the station, so to speak, and I think a lot of times we worry so much about like teammate target competition, but I think Egbuka might be the real deal, and I think that they have the real deal in Tampa, and they're going to use the hell out of Egbuka this season. So I think Godwin's presence sort of limits the ceiling outcome for Egbuka slightly. It limits the ceiling outcome for Evans slightly. The one variable is how much time in the slot does Godwin get when he's back? We saw under Liam Cohen last year, Godwin's numbers explode when they basically gave him this full-time slot role. Under Dave Canales 2 years ago, he was only in the slot like 30% of the time, had to play outside, and really, really struggled with that one. Now he's 2 years older, coming off an injury. They obviously gave him the money. Was some of that them paying Chris Godwin as a sort of reward for what he did for them, and we want to see him remain a Buck for life? Maybe. For me, it's just taking Godwin around 10, totally get it. It's a great, great value you're getting. But at the end of the day, Godwin's not going to prevent me from drafting a talent like Egbuka. I think a lot of times we sort of underestimate just how fast-tracked some of these really talented guys can be to be takeover artists in their offense. Egbuka sort of has that feel to him where drafted in a similar range as guys like JSN, guys like Brian Thomas Jr., and guys like Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson sort of had the exact same knock on him coming out of college was it's a guy that needs to play the slot. Justin Jefferson played the slot at LSU. We heard the same thing about Egbuka, but we haven't heard that at all from the Bucks players, beat reporters, coaches. They've actually been praising Egbuka's versatility, his athleticism, and his route running, his ability to just sort of be a dominant player. So I think that the market may have been too low on Egbuka in like Dynasty in rookie draft season. And I think Egbuka could make a really big impact this year. It's sort of just a bet on talent argument. And now I think you could get him at a more reasonable cost if you're drafting over the holiday weekend, just based on the Godwin news.
Adam Thielen to the Vikings. Is this more of a homecoming or more of an indictment and of how good your guy Ted McMillan is in Carolina?
I think it's a little bit of that. I think for Minnesota, it was a really sharp move because now you have the bridge wide receiver to sort of get you through the Jordan Addison suspension. Thielen was good at the end of last year. I think for Minnesota, it's a little bit of a knock to former Detroit Lion TJ Hawkinson, where the early season TJ Hawkinson narrative was Addison's gone. Hawkinson should be like the tight end 5 in every draft because look at all the targets he's going to get. He'll be the number 2 target to Justin Jefferson, hands down. Thielen's a target earner. When he's on the field like the end of last year, when healthy, he's a guy the quarterbacks like throwing the ball to. So I think that hurts. Hawkinson's the loser there for me. And it's a very smart move for Minnesota with a young quarterback, like basically a de facto rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy, to get him that veteran wide receiver to help him get him through. And if Thielen holds up and stays healthy and can play a full season, you've got a pretty good wide receiver trio right there, to kind of say the least. Add in Hawkinson, kind of like that. For Carolina, certainly.
Jones.
Yeah, Aaron Jones, absolutely. And I like Jordan Mason a lot. So that Minnesota offense, it was a very smart move for them to get Thielen to sort of finish his career as a Viking. I'm sure the fan base is fired up in Minnesota about getting Thielen back. I know he was always a popular player there. For Carolina, I think you nailed it. It's another pathway for Teterow and McMillan to be an instant wide receiver 1. I'm head over heels for T-Mac. We talked about him last week. I don't want to kind of talk about him again, but this is another show of confidence. And for me, Thielen was not holding back my McMillan enthusiasm at all. But like you said, they just got rid of the guy who's been Bryce Young's preferred target in more than half of his games. Yeah. The end of last season, Bryce Young, and then Bryce Young rookie year, Thielen was the guy he was passing to over and over again. Thielen was had that top 6 wide receiver start over the first half of the year, ended up finishing a strong wide receiver 2. So yeah, it's a huge win, another huge win for McMillan. from day one, Teteroa McMillan is going to be the number one target on that team. And then some of the secondary players are going to have opportunities. Jalen Coker, I think it should be Coker. Xavier Legette will have an opportunity. And then Jatavian Sanders, I know you mentioned you like as well. Like, he has an opportunity as well. So definitely a huge win for McMillan. And I think McMillan, you're starting to see him come up in some of these drafts. But I think there's not a lot of people are talking about what the upside case for McMillan could be. You could be talking about 150 targets as a rookie. I feel very confident when I draft Teteroa McMillan.
All right. I love hearing that. A couple more situations that Shane will get through real quick. Joe Mixon may be out all year, and Brian Robinson to the 49ers. So now I'm wondering, who do I draft for the commies out of Washington, and who the hell do I draft behind C.J. Stroud?
Bill Merritt, buddy. Bill Merritt.
You like Bill?
Yeah.
How about you, Theo? You like Bill?
I think you have to, because he's the reason that you got rid of Brian Robinson. Washington was fourth in the NFL, I believe, in rushing yards as a team. They definitely showed their hand in their confidence level in Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt by moving on from Brian Robinson, who's been a pretty decent player for them for multiple seasons. Krosky-Merritt, the problem with him is now you're paying like a 7th, 8th round price tag for a player that was going like in round 15 a month and a half ago. So he's steaming up so much. I think if you want to like really, really find a cheaper way to play the Washington backfield, I think Austin Eckler's role is going to be very static. He's super boring, but he's going to catch some passes out of the back. He's super boring, going to catch a lot of passes. I'm not afraid of Krosky-Merritt, but if you can get him in like round 10, round 9, go for it. But if you have to use a 7th round pick, basically like sort of the Mendoza line, you can't take Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt ahead of Zach Charbonnet. You probably shouldn't take him ahead of J.K. Dobbins. And Jordan Mason, you probably shouldn't take him ahead of. If he's behind those guys, go ahead and take him. Because the chance that he hits big, I think that like when we look at these guys who have come up in this situation, he reminds me a little bit of like the Phillip Lindsay rookie year. That's sort of what could happen with Krosky-Merritt, where it gives you like RB2 numbers. You're not going to see a James Robinson season. I don't think that's happening with Krosky-Merritt, where people sort of wanting the next James Robinson. And for Washington,
there's too many other guys there, I think.
Alfred Morris would be sort of the dream of Commanders, formerly Redskins fans, where the Butler was a 6th round pick. The Alfred Morris corollary with Robert Griffin at quarterback, you sort of have this, but I don't think it's going to hit that big. But I do think Krosky-Merritt's fine. And then you talked about Brian Robinson for San Francisco. Robinson now becomes an interesting handcuff because I don't think they trust Isaac Guerendo at all. And if there's a lot of people who love Isaac Guerendo because Guerendo was good in a couple games last year. He had like 2 or 3 really good games last year. He had that unbelievable speed score, ripped it up at the combine. People want to bet on Guerendo, but they don't trust him. He wasn't on the field for back-to-back training camps. He missed time at Wisconsin when he was there before he transferred to Louisville. Wisconsin, he never played. Yeah, so Guerendo takes a huge hit. Brian Robinson goes into that interesting handcuff role.
And Joe Mixon, because I scared some people.
Oh, don't draft Joe Mixon. Don't draft Joe Mixon. If you're in a draft this week, do yourself a favor. Do not draft Joe Mixon. If your league is 20 bench spots, or excuse me, 20 roster spots, is like if you have 10 starters and 10 bench players, and Joe Mixon falls to somewhere absurd, go ahead and hold him. Yeah. But Joe Mixon, we have no idea when he's going to be back. It's very shady, the lack of information that we have. There's a couple of like veteran beat reporters who have said this is one of the weirdest situations we've ever seen. There's like this shroud of mystery behind it. It's so weird. Plus, you have to factor in they went and signed Nick Chubb. They draft Woody Marks in the 4th round. Dameon Pierce. It's like stirring the echoes. Dameon Pierce is back to being Dameon Pierce. Yeah. So you have a couple of guys there who aren't great, but I don't think Houston is like, oh, we really need Joe Mixon right now. Plus, you have a coordinator change. They're going to be a little more pass happy. There's no reason for you to draft Joe Mixon if your league is like a 15 total rosters, because you're going to end up holding an injured player that you have no idea about. You're going to get to bye weeks in like week 5, and you're going to cut Joe Mixon. So don't pick up Joe Mixon. And you don't necessarily have to find a winner in Houston. We don't need to find a winner in every backfield. I think people desperately want to find one in places like Dallas. Definitely want to find one in places like Houston. the way that I've been playing the Houston backfield, and a lot of my leagues are 20-man leagues, NFFC, FFPC. I've been drafting Dameon Pierce in like round 17, round 18, with the idea that Nick Chubb is dust. And I think Nick Chubb's going to get the ball week 1. Nick Chubb will get the ball week 2. Can he hold up? And is he going to look good? I don't think so. So I think he's the way to do it because I think they don't fully trust Woody Marks yet. Woody Marks would be the fun player over the second half of the year if they start trusting him. I think right now they look at him as like a much, much better version of Dare Ogunbowale, like their pass catching specialist. Woody Marks did rush for 1,000 yards last year in the Big Ten, so I think he has it in him. Yeah. But it's do they trust him to give him the rock and make him like a full-time running back? I think Dameon Pierce actually be the next man in if Chubb falters. So, yeah, do not draft Joe Mixon. There's no reason to do it. It doesn't feel right.
You heard that, jerks. Stay away from Joe Mixon. We got you over time here, but I do want to get to this.
No, take your time, guys. I'm good.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to start a new segment here. Sleep
real quick, closing out Houston,
sleep.
Ambiguous backfield is always a source of fantasy points, right? A potential, value risk award. Woody Marks, 80 catches freshman year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mike Leach played for Mike Leach.
That's right.
I do like Woody Marks, and he looked good in the preseason in the Lions game. Quick,
requisite size, great agility, strong big conference performance.
If you're drafting one guy, you're drafting Pierce, or you taking Marks?
Oh, I'll take Marks, but so it's all about league context here. So Marks has come up a little bit, so I'm fine taking Marks, but I do think that sometimes taking, like you mentioned, that these ambiguous backfields, sometimes taking the cheapest option is the best way to play it.
That's right.
And I do think Dameon Pierce has the viability as a runner. Woody Marks, I wrote an article for The Athletic where I picked a breakout player for each and every team. And Woody Marks was my pick for Houston. So I think it could happen. Like if one of these guys hits big, it's going to be Woody Marks. But I think that if you're looking for early season running back production, if Chubb falters out of the gate, maybe you get Dameon Pierce at like 15 carries in like weeks 3, weeks
They're
4, and he's dirt cheap. Yeah, Marks, depending on your league, can be very, very cheap, but you're still taking him about maybe 4 rounds ahead of Pierce.
Sure.
Okay. So let's hop into Don't Sleep. This is a segment where we're going to go through a list of players here, and you're going to tell us don't sleep on these guys, or feel free to snooze, feel free to sleep. You're not missing out on anything.
Rapid fire, are we going to get Theo home? Or?
Yeah, first one, Chase Brown. You know I'm high on this guy. Are you sleeping on him in the 3rd round, or are you drafting him too high in the 2nd?
Don't sleep on Chase Brown. Chase Brown is going to put up huge numbers this year. Chase Brown's a great pick. If you get him in the 3rd round, it's a home run. If you get him in the 2nd round, he still can deliver for you. Chase Brown, as good as he was in the second half of last year, I think there's a little more room for him to run as a receiver. I'm very much in on Chase Brown.
Love that. Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy that like everybody was drafting super high last year and now just seems like kind of an afterthought at his value. Don't sleep.
I think he's fine in the 4th round. I don't get excited pressing the button, but I think for Marvin Harrison Jr. to hit, he had the weirdest score lines ever. He had like 8 games where he scored 7 points or fewer, and then like 8 games where he scored 15 points or more. If Arizona can just self-scout their way out of the awful games for Marvin Harrison Jr., then he doesn't have to take a huge step forward. He just needs to like not have complete duds, and he's going to beat his ADP.
I think we can skip over Rashee Rice and Pat Mahomes. I think if you saw the beginning of the episode here, we all are pretty resolute in the fact that the Chiefs are going to have a major bounce back offensive season this year, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the Pat Mahomes revenge tour, potentially.
Don't sleep on the Chiefs this year. All right, I'm excited about this one. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, that whole backfield. Should we be buying shares? Are we sleeping on these guys? And if we are, who are we sleeping on the most?
This is on Braylon Allen. Then have to use a premium pick on Breece Hall. If Breece Hall falls a lot, you can take him. I still think he can catch a ton of passes this year, and he should be the number 2 target on the team. But Braylon Allen, when he falls to a decent range, there's a chance that he leads New York in rushing yards this year from the running back position. Braylon Allen's an absolute monster, and I think that the Jets know what they have in Braylon Allen. He's still only 21 years old, so I'm packing bags of Braylon Allen in the double-digit rounds and sort of usually pivoting towards a wide receiver when Breece Hall is available in like that 4th round range / early 5th. And there's a couple of running backs who go a little bit ahead of Breece Hall that I'd rather click the button on.
Theo, you should see my Braylon Allen rookie card collection.
I imagine it's impressive.
I'm huge on Braylon. Now, do you think Isaiah Davis should be rostered if you have either one of those guys?
The way I've played it is I've only been rostering Isaiah Davis in like deeper dynasty leagues or in best ball formats where I'll take Braylon Allen and I'll take Isaiah Davis as like a last round, 20th round pick. I think for me, Isaiah Davis is probably a little bit more of a direct handcuff to Breece Hall, where I know they like Isaiah Davis, but I don't think that he would get a number of weekly touches unless Breece missed time. Whereas I think Braylon Allen is sort of his own thing. I think Braylon Allen's sort of like your David Montgomery role in the Ben Johnson offense last year in Detroit, if we want to put a tag on it, but maybe a chance that role is a lot more valuable than the Jahmyr Gibbs role is. And Davis is sort of in the more talented Craig Reynolds role to start the year. But I do think that Davis is a very good player, but I do think it would take an injury to one of those two guys for Davis to get extensive work.
J.J. McCarthy, don't sleep?
I think McCarthy's fine. Like where he's going, I think he's fine. I wish I knew a few things about this offense. I worry that they're going to be a little bit more run heavy than they were in years past. I think the Jordan Mason pickup sort of opens them up to be a little more conservative. But McCarthy's fine. He's always won games. He's mobile. And where he's going, it seems like he could be a hit at ADP. We've seen multiple quarterbacks thrive in this role. We saw Nick Mullins put up multiple QB1 weeks. Josh Dobbs put up multiple QB1 weeks. Josh Dobbs, for a very extended period of time, there was Josh Dobbs mania on the waiver wire for him in this offense. Kirk Cousins was leading the NFL in touchdown passes in this offense. And last year, Sam Darnold was a QB1 in this offense. So this offense has been very quarterback friendly. J.J. McCarthy, they really believe in. They took him very highly in the NFL draft. The guy doesn't lose games. He lost one college game his whole time at Michigan, 1st round pedigree. And I think that if it really, really hits, a little bit of Bo Nix in him. Maybe not quite as much rushing ability, but the athleticism is there. And for him being sort of a fast start, if you want to take him, he's fine. Like you said, it's probably a QB2 bet. You don't have to take him as your QB1. But if you're looking to get a little bit of an upside play, don't love your QB1, sure, I think J.J. McCarthy is absolutely worth picking up. And playing those 2 games in Europe instead of playing those 2 AFC North teams on the road, it's Pittsburgh and Cleveland. They play those 2 teams in England instead of, is it England? And one of them might be Germany. But they're Europe for sure. Not having to go on the road to Pittsburgh, not having to go on the road to Cleveland and playing in like a neutral environment, I think that helps a rookie as well.
Yeah, Theo's bringing it. I mean, like
Always.
the road knowledge, and
Always.
yeah, it's amazing.
Juwan Jennings, don't sleep?
I think he's fallen to a point where you can take him, but missing the time in the preseason has given Ricky Pearsall such a leg up on being the leading wide receiver there. George Kittle's going to be a massive part of the offense. Christian McCaffrey is what he is when he's healthy. So for me, like, I wanted Juwan Jennings to sort of be the thing. If you asked me this question in May, I would have been all over him. But the vibes are there with Pearsall. They just signed MVS today off the street. MVS, that Seattle wasted some money on MVS. Now he's in San Francisco. I don't know. I'm sort of, if you really, really want to draft a San Francisco wide receiver and have a big, big hit from it, Pearsall, it's not a sure thing, but he's going to get an opportunity. He's plenty athletic and has the draft capital. Jennings has missed so much time. I think he probably slots into a little bit more of a secondary role. And then when you factor in just how big George Kittle's role is in the offense, it's sort of Jennings feels like a limited upside type selection.
Pearsall, very sexy pick right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
first round pedigree. Like in the games that he did play last year, those 3 games, he averaged over 20 fantasy points a game. I mean,
Yeah.
that's league winner type. And even at the price right now, where's he at in ADP? I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like a smash button, feels like a smash button.
Okay, so don't sleep on Pearsall. That's who I should have asked about. Now, a guy that I love late towards the 10th round is that, oh boy, I missed out on a tight end. I guess I'll pick this guy. I think he could possibly have a Brock Bowers type of season, and that is Tyler Warren, getting the ball thrown to him by Danny Dimes in Indianapolis. Tyler Warren, don't sleep.
Don't sleep at all on Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is I think, going to be a top 6 scorer at the tight end position,
Love that.
top 8 scorer at the tight end position. I think he can lead Indianapolis in targets.
Wow.
And you mentioned Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes, like, this is a situation where now maybe we get the full Tyler Warren experience. And Tyler Warren was getting rushing attempts, quite a few of them, at Penn State last year on a team that had 2 future NFL running backs, both of them back at Penn State this year. But Warren, with Jones out there, maybe we get a little bit of that Taysom Hill usage for Tyler Warren on top of what he offers you as a pass catcher.
Love it.
So
Like
how does
270
his
yards
score?
on the ground last year or something like that? It's crazy.
Absolutely ridiculous. And the yards per rushing attempt were very, very high. Wow. A bunch of touchdowns in there. I mean, Warren had set the Big Ten record for the most receptions in a game. He had 17 catches against USC,
Right.
and he had over 100 receptions in the season. He set the Big Ten record for the most receptions, the most in the game. I mean, this guy is a target earner. I don't think that we're going to get to the Brock Bowers, Trey McBride level, and I don't think you'll get to the Sam Laporta 2024 numbers where 2023 Laporta, where he finishes a tight end 1. I think that bar is a little too high, but I do think Warren can give you a top 6 scoring season. And I know there's a lot of people probably listening that are like, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, but we haven't seen what a mega target earner tight end can do in this offense. They literally haven't had a tight end earn targets of note for like 8 years or something.
Kylan Granson, Jelani Woods,
nothing, guys. Like literally no production. So I think Tyler Warren's a massive X factor for this offense, but I think that Tyler Warren, they're going to run a lot of things through. I think he's really, really good, and they drafted him 14 overall for a reason. I think Warren's a great pick for you to make if you're searching for upside at the tight end spot.
It just makes the Bears sound so dumb when Theo talks about that situation. Like, what are you doing?
I agree. Tyler Warren, don't sleep. You mentioned his name, Michael Pittman. This is a guy that's going in the 9th, 10th round. My Dynasty League, he went for $11 last night for a 3-year contract. I think Michael Pittman with an actual quarterback, with an actual arm, this guy, he can be a top 24 wide receiver in this league this year. Don't sleep.
Pittman has a good chance of bouncing back. Pittman was playing so hurt last year. There was a time period where we thought Pittman was going to get shut down for the year. Serious back issue. And if we go back to Michael Pittman 2 years ago, Pittman was an easy high-end wide receiver 2. He's had multiple strong years of production. They paid him an absolute fortune. He's making a ton of money for them. And also now Josh Downs is already banged up. Yeah, I think Michael Pittman, I actually took him in a Dynasty League this week. He's just this kind of beat-up asset that people are kind of treating Michael Pittman like he's a 33-year-old, and it's like, oh, he's done. Michael Pittman still has youth on his side. He's still got that big contract. I think he's a very good bet for you to make. I do think that the upside case for him, it's sort of a limited upside, but like you said, if you're looking for a guy you can put in the flex, play as your wide receiver 3, and hit as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3, I think Pittman has that in his range of outcomes.
In the 10th round.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 10th, 11th round, he's cheap.
I got to sneak this one in here, though. Is Adonai Mitchell the future at wideout in Indianapolis? Because I think that guy...
Not a good start as a rookie.
Yeah, but I've been hearing a lot about him at camp. Where are you on Adonai, Theo?
Well, so Adonai is a really, really cheap bet for you to make. And Adonai, I don't know which way this is going to go, but the buzz on him is insane. He was a next level athlete at the combine.
Sure
if Xavier Worthy wasn't at that combine, the entire talk of the combine would have been Adonai Mitchell. Ran a low 4.3 40, had a huge vertical leap, and was a second round pick led Texas in touchdown catches in his season there. And now everybody says it's sort of been like the Adonai Mitchell show. This is exactly the kind of pick to make for your final round. You can still get Adonai Mitchell in like the 18th round of a lot of leagues. Best ball, he's super cheap. I am doing this preseason waiver wire article that should drop next week. Adonai Mitchell's in there. It's just a super cheap bet to make. And if you don't believe in him, it doesn't really matter because you're going to get him for cheap. You're going to take him in the last round and just sort of see where this thing goes for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And if his snap share is low, then everybody was wrong and he's not ready. But if he plays a huge amount of snaps in week 1, then I think that he can end up being a thing based on how athletic he is. And last year when Downs was out, they used Mitchell in the slot. I don't know if they'll do that this year. They have a few other options, but that's also another interesting thing for Ashton. There you go, Ashton Doolin.
I'm a big
sounds like the
Adonai
Podfather.
guy, so we'll see. Final one here, and then we'll let you get back to what you're doing. T-Law, a.k.a. Trevor Lawrence, seems to have some new toys there. Can he ever put it together? I've never been a big believer, but now I kind of feel like he's low-priced. Trevor Lawrence, don't sleep.
I want to say don't sleep. I'm sort of with you. Is Trevor Lawrence that good? I think he gets a long leash from fantasy managers based on the pedigree he had coming in and how good he was in year 2. It's been sort of a mixed bag ever since. But hey, Liam Cohen was the coach last year when Baker Mayfield had this incredible season. Mayfield had his most rushing yards, his most passing yards, and he had 40 touchdown passes. And Trevor Lawrence now has one of the most exciting wide receiver duos in the NFL. He's got a bona fide alpha in Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, who was just awesome at Colorado last year. They took it the number 2 overall pick. I think Brenton Strange is going to be a solid tight end. And Diami Brown, they seem to like as a wide receiver 3. So
I forgot about
he's got
Diami. Torched
yeah.
Diami
Diami can also get behind a defense. Big time athlete, more of a stylistic play than a hey go draft him type guy. But if we believe in Liam Cohen, then Liam Cohen could have this big effect on Trevor Lawrence. And they're stuck with Trevor Lawrence. It's got to work out in Jacksonville because they gave up the first round pick next year.
And there's a lot of upside there with Trev, right? Liam Cohen seems like a guy that once again comes out of that Bruce Arians Tampa system. That we're thinking that Dave Canales is going to turn that Carolina team around. I could see the same situation here, but with a much higher pedigree of a quarterback, as you mentioned, of Trev Lawrence than Bryce Young. Those weapons are incredible. I mean, you got Trev, or you got Etienne in his contract year, right? A new coach with everybody should be getting, a reset button, right? That team, I could in a crap division, I could see that team, getting 9 to 10 games of winning this year, maybe pushing that edge because even with Doug Peterson, that team was winning some games and barely missed the playoffs.
Finally be the playoff team everybody's been calling for the last 3 or 4 years.
Right, some of these guys take a little while to get going, and this is what his 4th offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So I think it's time. And then at that price, I mean, the upside is huge. He's a guy that does have the Konami code. Right, and he has given you top 11 performance in the past,
and he's got Travis Hunter now. So, final question: more touchdowns or interceptions for Travis Hunter this year, Theo?
Touchdowns easily. Okay. And I think he'll double up. He'll at least double up his interceptions.
Fantastic. You got any more plugs for us before you say goodbye?
No, just make sure you check out Fantasy Points YouTube. Check out Fantasy Football Daily anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm dropping multiple shows a week. Have you covered for everything you need fantasy-wise. And School of Scott podcast, it's a separate feed. That's Scott Barrett and I every single week dropping a show. And then for you Dynasty listeners out there, viewers, Dynasty Life, that's my Dynasty show. And all of my written work over at Fantasy Points. If you want a Fantasy Points subscription, use the code Theo2025. Get yourself something off.
There you go. We appreciate you so much. You stayed a lot longer than we anticipated. I promise next week we'll be talking start sit. We'll be a little less draft prep, so we won't take as much time with you, but we really, really enjoy your time. We really enjoy the partnership with you guys and Fantasy Points. And so thank you so much for coming on again today.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem.
Excellent, Theo. You killed it again.
Take care, guys.
Take care, buddy. All right. So, yeah, that went a little long, and it was awesome.
It's fine.
It was awesome. So we're going to skip over question and answer segment. We're going to get right over to dad mode. What do we got on dad mode, Ryan? Yes, sir.
So, you guys know how I do. Dad mode, right? You got to get to the airport 2 hours early, right? Comfortable shoes, brand new socks, chilling, right?
Brand new socks.
We got to drop that stress level, right? This segment of Dad Mode is brought to you by Ven Johnson Law, fighting for you, and Manchego's Cheese Shop, fighting for cheese. Wide receiver 10 in point per game. Wide receiver 10 in point per game. Wide receiver 3 in point per game. Wide receiver 10 in point per game. 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Just when you thought he was done 2 years ago, bounces back, right? 6'5" tall. The last man to actually make Johnny Manziel look like a competent quarterback. The mark of excellence, consistency, habitual professionalism, reliable like a Ford F-150. Come on, Ford, you want to sponsor the show? Predictable like a scary movie. Mike Evans. Wait a second. Wait, holy crap. Ryan, is this true? But I don't know who sent this over there. This just in from London. Mike Evans was knighted. He is now Sir Michael Evans, and deservedly so. You heard it here first. Thank you, Mike Evans. You're our dad mode. Smash it.
Get him on your team, man. At the value, at the price he's going for, I don't know.
Especially in 5 and 6.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's getting to 5.
Yeah, considering some of the guys that you're risking yourself taking, like I love Travis Hunter, but is he even going to get enough snaps to put up the production that Mike Evans does?
Like I said about specialization, I have a problem with a guy that doesn't have a specialization. These guys wash. Isaiah Simmons, is he going to be on a team this year? Just got cut again.
Yeah. I always thought he was going to be good. But listen, guys, we appreciate you so much. We appreciate the guys that are going to be in the fantasy league for us. Again, I will message all of you guys. If you want to check out Fantasy Points, head on over to fantasypoints.com. Put in Woodward as your code, your discount code, and you will get a nice discount off. Tremendous analytics. Honestly, it's the site I've been looking for the last decade.
Yeah, I love it. Everything in one place. It's a true enterprise fantasy system.
Yeah. It's an absolute toolbox. It's a website, but it is a toolbox. So listen, guys, we've got you in our league now, 8 of you. You're going to be playing against my man Ryan, the bomber over here, Kaz, and myself. Remember, there is a punishment for last place. I'm going to show you a few more today. Next week, Wednesday, final show before the season starts, before first game of the year, Thursday night for the NFL. Next Wednesday, we will be letting you know what the punishment is. I promise you won't have to risk your life. You don't have to risk your health. Unlike some of these guys here, like the paintball gauntlet.
Let him start running first. 2, 3,
It hurts. It absolutely hurts. And my man with the tuck and roll. I love the roll at the end there.
Yeah, it was legendary.
And then on to our next one. We could definitely do this here in Michigan, but the losers dip. We won't be doing this one. And if we did, I would hope that we would execute a little bit better here as you watch
Have I seen
my
this one?
man smack his head.
Oh, here we go.
That's dumb.
Oh my God.
We could definitely do this. You could go to
The polar dip. The polar dip of the Lord. This is fucking classic. Get in
We're
there.
not putting you into
Tom
any water,
Brady,
guys, I
baby.
promise. And we're not
Go Pats.
turning you into the sticker.
This is it. Oh yeah, Kyle, you did. You guys did it.
That's the guy that has to dress up in a dress and put on a helmet and go run the stickers on the board throughout the entire draft. But we don't like the stickers. Promise.
Yeah, this one's just brutal. Like, just getting hit and stuff all the time.
And the guy in the orange is especially angry, especially hates this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually hate someone, this would be great. But like, well, like if you just can't create enemies if you're in this, you just can't.
Because you're going to take last place at some point.
Yeah, it's just like you can't make anything, you can't do anything. You just have to just stay what you do, and yeah, that's rough.
Man, that last one just winds up across the face, waits for him to turn. Yep. So
Right in the face.
So we'll end it on this last one. My man here is a hell of a hot dog preparer, but he boils his dogs, don't you?
Well, it depends on the situation, but most, yeah, Anson, I agree with that.
And
I
remember-
feel like we need a sponsor for this one if this is going to be our...
We might have to. No, this isn't going to be our punishment. But this one is a hell of a punishment. 7 months, a hot dog.
5 months
every
and 28 days left of
flippin'
this, so.
Day. Hot dogs? What the fuck, Brandon?
Hey, don't hate.
They gotta have that char on them.
Hey, Oakland
In the
Golden
winter?
Grizzlies fan club. Great show. He says, thanks again, guys. We appreciate you. And I'm sure that you guys appreciate Neil Rule calling games. They're a legend that we have here at Woodward Sports. Mike Williams is stud, better than Charles Rogers. You take that back. You take that back. Rest in peace, Chuck. Love that guy. But listen, guys, we will be back next Wednesday. We're going to start, I believe, at 8 o'clock. We'll have some promo out there for you, but we want to give everybody an opportunity to get home and as well as our TDs to get in. So we will be starting up at 8 till 9:30 next week. We'll have another fantasy expert.
And we'll try to get to the questions and the comments later.
Well, next week, you're going to have start-sit questions. So we will absolutely have a question and answer segment that we will spend some time with you guys.
We owe it to him, Anson.
Well, and with Theo, the abundance of knowledge that he has.
You can't stop it.
This is draft week.
That's
and
right.
these guys need as much info as they can get.
That's right.
You know, so next week we'll be hitting those questions
It's
and
an
answers.
unstoppable train.
It is. He is an unstoppable force, and so is Fantasy Points. Unbelievable. I'm just addicted to that site. You guys want to check it out, get over there, plug in Woodward as your discount code. You're going to save some money on that. But it is absolutely fantastic. Of course, tomorrow, starting things off in the morning, 8 o'clock, start your day with the mornings with Sean Belesian and, of course, our guy Maz. After that, BDE with Neil Rule. After that, Braylon Edwards with Shep. The Braylon Edwards Show had a fantastic time sitting in with those guys today. And then, of course, the most organic sports show online. It is called The Heavyweights. You want to make sure that you join up with them. And if you get a chance, take a look at last night's episode. They went over to Black Rock and tried their entire menu. Shout out to Black Rock. They crushed it.
Shout out BlackRock.
Yeah, well, we need a few more viewers, so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
get there,
yeah.
though.
No, they
but hey,
deserve it.
Episode 2, we appreciate everybody that's here. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, all right? Get them in next week. We're going to be answering all kinds of start-sit questions. Last-minute waiver wire pickups before you get in there. And I will personally be reaching out to everybody that is in the league, letting you know the time and date. We will be using the Sleeper app for the league. But had fun with you, buddy. It's nice to get show number 2 in with you.
Yeah, and we had so much more. I love the cover, but yeah, it is time. We got to get up early.
He's an unstoppable force, too, and I've had to hold him back on his analytics, but I promise I'm going to unleash Kaz on you guys this year. He has a tremendous amount, decades of fantasy knowledge, and
Don't age me,
he can't wait to
Don't age
share it with
us.
you guys. I don't know about us. Oh, wait, we did graduate the same year. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh. Hey, appreciate my man Ryan. You have fun today?
Yeah, apologize to everyone in the chat for the audio. I called JB, I called Easy, I bugged them on their evening, but we figured out the audio. Also, Brendan didn't have a camera for like the longest time, but I figured it out. Let's give Brendan some love right there. He's on your screen. Let's give.
We love you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
Let's give Brendan some love. He did a great job at BlackRock as well yesterday, but I figured.
Shout out BlackRock.
Shout out BlackRock.
Shout out their new menu coming out. You could check yesterday as a sneak peek at their new menu, the Woodward's Heavyweights Food Review.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the old preset I used today had like nothing on it, so it was bare bones. I think this show took like a year off my life. I wasn't able to like actually calm down until I think like 8:30.
Okay.
So like the first hour I was panicking and half the stuff like didn't match up with some of the graphics, but as long as we're good by week 1, we should be good.
Hey, we're doing good. We're growing together. We're learning together, and you guys are joining us for it. We really appreciate it. We're going to continue to dial this show up. Brendan, the Bomber, appreciate you, buddy. And, of course, Brandon Kaz, very much love. You guys have a great night, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you to all the fans for making Woodward Sports your #1 online destination.